Hello, Savvy Beauties. Welcome to Clean Beauty Scene. I'm Kelly Bonanno, your host, eco-friendly lifestyle and wellness coach. I'm very excited about my guest today. We are talking about such an important topic that is so important to probably most of you listening, because I think most of you listening are in that midlife, over 40, over 50, dealing with perimenopausal issues, menopausal issues, and symptoms. And so my guest today is really an expert on that. And we're going to help you navigate some of the things and give you some ideas on what you can do to mitigate that.
This is going to be a great episode to not just explain some stuff to you, but really to help you come away from this episode with tips and tools to help you and what you can do about it. Because I'm all about giving you actionable steps on each episode. This is not just for fluff and entertainment. I want to help you guys live healthy and feel great and look your best and really be the best version of yourselves. Which brings me to a little announcement I have, which I am so excited. Registration is open for my next health summit, Lose 10 Pounds by Summer. It's virtual, so it's online. You can watch from the comfort of your own home, and it is completely free. I have 20 amazing speakers. We are focusing on, yes, helping you lose weight, but also lose it permanently, to keep it off. We are going to give you tools, tips, and strategies and methods to lose the weight. But this is not about quick fixes and fads. It is to help you have a healthy relationship with food and to create a lifestyle, because if you've listened to this podcast or you have been in my community, I'm on a mission to help you women break free from dieting. I don't believe being on or off a diet. There is no good or bad food. There are so many things that you can be doing to enjoy food, enjoy your life, and still be a weight that you want and be comfortable and fit into the clothes that you want to wear. This is what I hear from a lot of women. So I have created this summit to do exactly that. So if you have, been on the diet roller coaster and lost and gained the same 10, 15 or more pounds year after year, or, you gained some weight from the pandemic, or you're having these perimenopausal and menopausal weight gain and weight loss resistance, this summit is going to help you tremendously. I am so excited. I'm humbled by the amazing speakers we have. And each topic is just so helpful and really going to help you, because there's so much that goes into losing weight. It's so not about calories in, calories out. And yes, food and nutrition and what we're eating and how much we're eating and when we're eating plays a role. And there's so many things that have nothing to do with food that are causing your weight gain, your weight loss resistance. So you are going to learn all about that. So the link will be in the show notes. It's kellybonanno.com/summit. My last name is a little tricky to spell, BONANNO. So kellybonanno.com/summit. But of course, go to the link in the show notes and it'll take you right there so you can sign up. So excited, and I hope to see you there. And now I am pleased to bring you this fabulous episode.
So my guest is Tanja Shaw. She is a sought-after life and weight loss coach, host of the Fit and Vibrant You podcast, which I've been a guest on, founder of Ascend Fitness and Lifestyle, a holistic health coaching studio in Chilliwack, British Columbia, and Fit and Vibrant Over 40. Tanja has built a credible reputation for helping thousands of women to get their happy, healthy weight permanently and naturally, and without the obsession, so they can live their life. Tanja and her husband Keith and their son Jacob, that was my dad's name, love that name, live in Chilliwack, British Columbia, about an hour outside of Vancouver, Canada. She loves being active outdoors, such as running, hiking, paddleboarding, mountain biking, and camping. And she also loves a good cup of coffee and a glass of red wine. No wonder I like her so much.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Coffee in the morning. I love it. Wine on the weekends.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Yeah. All that other health stuff is great, but
That's it.
Well, welcome. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me. And you're right. I think it's a really good topic. I'm excited to dive into some of the reasons why women struggle with their weight around menopause, but more importantly, what to do about it, because you don't want to identify all the problems and we want to do something about it. So right. I'm happy to be talking about that today.
This is your life. Sorry. Now go deal.
Yeah.
And also perimenopause. People, I think it kind of creeps up. And I think do you find this too, that people don't really always equate it? Like something funky's going on and they don't always think, oh, this is perimenopause, this is menopause.
Yeah.
So maybe let's start there with, what are some of the kind of telltale symptoms that this is happening to your body? And yeah, the same things that worked in your 20s and 30s are not going to work now. And, these are new changes that we're facing and dealing with, but can be dealt with.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're right about not knowing or not always knowing that it's happening, because quite often you get caught up with life and you are focusing on your work and your kids and everything like that. And then you realize that what worked in the past, especially for your health and your wellness, isn't working anymore. And I want to back up and say that most of the women I work with from a coaching perspective have been struggling with weight their entire life. So it's not just when they're like all of a sudden like they turn 50 or 40 and they're like, and then it's actually they've been struggling with the diet cycle. They've been on diets and off diets. And now though that they realize that what they did in the past to get the weight off doesn't work quite as well anymore. And plus there's lots of other things. There's like lack of sleep. There's sometimes low energy, low libido. They're just knowing that things are not quite the way they used to be. And when we work together, it's just really important to acknowledge that and just recognize that the body is changing, and you're gonna change. It's gonna change. Like that's a good thing. Like it's supposed to, but that there is so much you can do about it, and you can't treat your body like you did when you were 20 or 30 or your teenage years or even 40. As you get into your 40s, 50s, 60s, and beyond, and to do things a little bit differently. So like I said, most of the women I work with, like we do specifically mostly work on a lot of the mindset, a lot of the getting off the diet cycle, being consistent, but then also doing the things that are going to be more effective for this stage of your life. Because like I said, doing the same thing over and over again that you did before, the crash dieting or the whatever you were doing, the intense workouts, you're not going to get the same results anymore. And I think when you notice that your body is changing, one really, really important mindset shift, and this comes from an actual hormonal perspective, but also like a relationship with self perspective, is to know that your body is doing the best she can for you. Because so often these changes come from this place of like, oh my gosh, like I'm gaining belly fat all of a sudden. I'm getting this like this right around the midsection, or my energy level's not up, and you almost resent your body for changing, and you hate your body, you fight your body. And know that all of the changes are happening is because your body is actually doing the best she can for you. And she is hardwired for survival. And so some of these changes that are happening is because she actually wants you to survive. She doesn't prioritize weight loss because this is the first time ever really in our whole being human beings, that human beings have been around, that we've actually haven't thought about weight loss or need to do anything about weight loss. So it's not the body's priority to say, hey, let's get you a size 6 because that's going to be really important for evolution. No, like we want you to keep you alive and safe. And so coming from that, it just alleviates a lot of the stress that so many women can have when their body is now changing and they don't really like it anymore. So coming from that perspective is really important as you start to make the changes. And then also that belief process, because quite often we're told like, well, now that I'm 40, it's just really hard to lose weight, or now that I'm 50, like, I'll never get to be fit and healthy and vibrant anymore. Like it's gone. Believe that you can, because you can. Like there are so many examples of women who are thriving through their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and beyond.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
you can too. It's just that you got to sometimes do things a little bit different. You got to honor and respect your body. You got to still know that your body is changing. It's not going to be exactly what it was before, but there are things you can do to work with her.
Absolutely. I think that's such a good point, is acceptance, because fighting it makes it harder. And, and also I think it helps to understand what's going on. And, not enough doctors really help. They just kind of, here, have this medication, have this, have that. And that's why I love with as a health coach, you can really help women if they understand what's going on with their body and why. Like, why would somebody who generally has a flat stomach all of a sudden be dealing with belly fat just because they're entering those menopausal years?
Oh, such a good question. Let's dive right in.
Yeah.
It comes down to hormones. And here's what happens is that when you are younger, your ovaries are producing estrogen and progesterone as they do. And when you are going through menopause or you're starting to go through perimenopause, that starts to decline. And the body has this lovely little sort of back pocket, way for you to keep producing those sex hormones as you go through menopause, and that's your adrenals. So your adrenals are supposed to produce a little bit of estrogen in low doses, and not quite as much as your ovaries were. But the problem is that our adrenals are quite often quite taxed, and so it doesn't just happen through menopause. It happens in your 20s, 30s, and 40s when you're building a career. You're in the sandwich generation. You have teenagers. You have aging parents. Maybe you're starting to be stressed because you're like, you've been living this life, and you're like, now what for myself? Like now there's lots of things that come up. Or we're perfectionists. We're this like go, go, go type person. And sometimes we say we thrive on the stress, but our body doesn't thrive on the stress. And we're mean to ourselves. We're hard on ourselves. That's a big one too. We don't really talk about. You talk about stress in terms of like traffic and things like that. But the fact that most women are just so mean to themselves, like that's an ongoing stress all the time. Over exercising is a stress. We think that, if I just burn more calories, I'm going to lose the weight. It doesn't work that way. And so instead of the adrenals producing some of that estrogen, now it's prioritizing producing cortisol, because from an evolutionary perspective, there is no, like the body's not going to prioritize reproduction or metabolism. It's going to prioritize stress management or escaping from that, that big fire or the saber-toothed tiger. That's more of a survival mechanism. And so when you have belly fat, especially, fat is not an inert tissue. It actually it stores estrogen there as well. And so your body is like, well, let's just hang on to this because I'm not able to produce it elsewhere. And so generally, if not always, when you have that midsection, there is something to do with your hormones, specifically your cortisol, your estrogen levels, your thyroid hormones, that all are needing a little bit of work to do.
Yes. And this is why this really is why one of the reasons I'm such a big proponent of reducing toxic load that we talked about on your podcast, because these hormone disruptors, these endocrine disruptors, they mimic estrogen. So they make your body think it's producing more. So it's exacerbating your body's natural estrogen surges. So it's compounding. So that's just make a little mental note if you're listening.
Make a little bit note. Yeah.
Reduce your toxic load.
Well, it all comes down to the whole lifestyle, right? Like, and when it comes to perimenopause and menopause, there are lots of women who need like extra help way beyond like they need to go see their doctor or their naturopath or their functional medicine doctor because there's things that are going on, or they have a food intolerance, or they need help, or they need hormone therapy, they need something else. But all of that is completely futile unless you work on the foundations first.
Yes.
And that is stress management. And that's also, the other part is blood sugar regulation. That's a huge one, because blood sugar regulation is a big cause of a lot of our cortisol spikes in our stress response. And what happens is that when we eat usually like a high carbohydrate or a high sugary type foods, or coffee can do it to you too if you're not eating something else with it. And there's no specific guideline of like exactly how much carbs you can have, or that sort of thing, because it depends on you, it depends on your carb tolerance, depends on lots of different things. But your blood sugar levels are going to spike, and then insulin is going to come in, and insulin is going to come in with like, a lot of it's going to pour into your body to bring that blood sugar levels back down again. And then it drops too low because it's overdoing it. And then you have a hormone called glucagon, which is released from the pancreas. That's there to raise blood sugar levels back up again. But there's also, that's what cortisol is going to do too. So cortisol is also going to be there to raise blood sugar levels back up again. And that's its job. So every time you do that, you have this stress response, you have this spike, which is going to take your body away from producing some of those sex hormones that you're going to want. But it's also then turning your body into like releasing blood sugar so that you're not as able to burn fat for fuel either. So it's a really two of the bigger things. And no matter what, like you do, no matter who you see to balance your hormones or your hormones to work on all that, work on those foundations first. Balance your blood sugar levels, start to reduce stress in your body, and everything else you do. If you might not need to do it, but if you do, it's going to be so much more helpful.
Absolutely. That is such a good point, is start, because also when you go to the doctor, some may probably won't even talk to you about that. They might say, oh, work on stress. They might say, work on your nutrition. Well, what does that mean? Like, oh,
I
okay,
know.
I'm going to eat some more, greens, or it really, and that's such a good point. I love how you explain that. It's those insulin spikes. It's balancing the blood sugar levels. You do that, then that's how our bodies use fat for fuel.
Exactly.
And how, so that's how we lose weight, and that weight loss resistance, because those spikes cause, is another thing that causes the weight loss resistance. Plus, this is so beautiful when, these midlife years, one of the things that women say, I'm sure a lot of women who come to you say they're lacking energy. They don't have enough energy, or they get that energy slump. Well, when we're burning fat, like our body's fat gives us good energy. So it's the best source of energy. So, I mean, many sources, but yeah, so I love that. I think you guys listening, if you take nothing away, just balancing your blood sugars, managing that, and you will notice the difference. And yes, doing those foundational things. And if you need to take it further, then fine. But I'm sure there's some people that don't do that, and then they go and they get these hormones that maybe they don't even need.
Or it doesn't really serve you as it could, and you deserve to feel good. You deserve to feel energetic and vibrant and healthy and everything. And
right.
And the great thing, a lot of these things that we're going to do too are not huge massive changes. It's not like you're overhauling everything, but there's some small certain steps that you can take that make a big difference. And you said there about energy, Kelly, and I think that's so important, because we all say we want more energy. And when you start to feel the results from eating in a certain way where your blood sugar levels are balanced, you feel like you're not hangry, you're not, that desperate to eat all the time, you're not thinking about food all the time, you have this level energy, your mood is a lot better. It's so worth it. And the great thing too about that, I mean, weight loss can take a little bit more time, but your energy piece, like that can come really fast. Like as soon as you start to eat more whole foods, or you start to eat in a way that your blood sugar levels are balanced, a lot of that really comes back, which is huge. And I do want to talk a bit more about like what that looks like, and actually like what does that mean and how do we do it. But I also just want to back up to stress a little bit too, because I said at the beginning, like we often think that stress is the traffic and the deadlines at work and the angry teenagers or whatever it is. But just to really dive into and you talked about the toxic load too, and that can create stress on the body as well. Blood sugar I talked about, but a lot of like excessive worrying, perfectionism, feeling like you're not enough, like those are all aspects of stress as well. And not only does the actual stress response, the physical stress response, it not only is that counterproductive for weight loss, and not only does that disrupt your hormones, but a lot of people respond to stress by eating. And that's another big thing too. Like you are feeling stressed out, you go to the sweets or the carbs or whatever it is, because that is going to distract you for the moment out of that stress feeling. So I think that's really important as well.
Very important. And I think you're right. I think people don't realize they think that the exterior stressors, but what's going on. And I know you work a lot on mindset, and that's why self-love is not just like, ooh, let's be hippie.
I know.
It's so important. That's been a hard lesson for me, but wow, that's a game changer, big time. Yeah. And in that mean girl, the mean girl inside of us. And it's you're not even conscious of it. When you start bringing your awareness to it,
totally.
Whoa, what am I saying to myself? Yeah.
I know.
Like
one of my clients.
Yeah. Go ahead.
As one of my clients said to me, I have to cough for a second here. She said, I never knew how much I hated myself until I started working with you. I'm like, wonderful. But seriously, because we are not even aware that we're speaking like that to ourselves, and we would never speak like that to someone else.
Exactly.
And there's also a lot of, I have a couple blog posts and I have a podcast on this too. It takes a lot of courage to step up and to love yourself and to be kind to yourself, because there's no growth. Talking like right now, we're talking about hormones and everything, but here we go. There is no growth in doing what you've always done. There's no growth in berating yourself and being the martyr and putting yourself down. It's like that is the easy way out. We think we're, putting everyone else first. We think that we're doing something noble because we're not being kind to ourselves. But like, no, that's such a cop out. If you want to show up fully for the world, for yourself, for other people, you got to get on your own side. And self-love, acceptance, self-respect, whatever you want to call it, is one of the most courageous acts you can do, because it's creating growth, it's creating change, it's doing something that's uncomfortable, and it is so worth it. When I think of, we often have this thing like, I'll love myself when, and I know we say this as lip service, and you're like, I'll be happy when I lose the weight, I'll love myself when I do that. If not now, when? Like, you think you're gonna change the way that you talk to yourself when you're 20 pounds later or 50 pounds later? No. Or when you are like when you get that promotion, like there will always be the next goal. There will always be one more pound to lose. There will always be the next goal post. If you don't start loving yourself and taking care of yourself now, like, then when? Like, because there is no when. And then you get to the end of your life and you look back like, well, that sucked. Like, I should have done something a little bit different. And you don't want to do that. So no matter where you are right now, step up, start taking care of yourself, rise up. And it's, like I said, one of the most courageous acts you can take.
Mic drop. You guys listening, if you take nothing else away, because the other thing is it facilitates it makes everything else easier. Yeah. We attract what we are. We attract what we expect. And when you really think about that, if you're completely, always expecting the worst of yourself and the worst of what will happen, and then you're just attracting more of that. And yeah, even if you can work your way to getting to that next goal, then the next goal is going to be that much harder. I love how you put that. Yes. It's important. It's really, and the thing is, I believe you can't really love someone else more than you love yourself, and others can't love you more than you love yourself. And it's not selfish. It's not putting yourself first. It creates a much better relationships with others too.
Yeah. Well, I think what you said there was really important, is like, it's not selfish, but it also doesn't necessarily mean, you're right, it doesn't always mean that you're going to put yourself first. We often think that if I love myself, that means, well, I'm just going to take, it's like me first. It's like, no, it's just me too. It's like, and I'm going to take, because we often have this like big black or white way of thinking in lots of different things, but same thing with self-love. It's like, we think that if I love myself, that means I'm going to put everyone else's needs below mine. And that's not always the case, because we live in an actual world where I have commitments, I have relationships, I have people that I care for, I have people who I am, obligated,
responsible.
Yeah, or I have that. It's not like I'm like, okay, to my son, like, peace out, mom's just gonna go take care of herself. You go, like, no, it's not like that. Right. But it's about being clear on what it looks like to take care of yourself, and also scheduling yourself into that. And now we're talking about self-care, which is, I think, super important, but it doesn't have to be huge. It doesn't have to be a pedicure every day, although that would be lovely too. It could be moisturizing your hands and really taking a moment there. It could be going for a walk, reading a book for a few minutes, like lots of different things that.
So true. That's I always say self-care does not have to be an hour in the bubble bath. No. Sometimes if you place those things, that's going to cause even more stress. Oh gosh, now I have to. No, it's little things that feed you throughout the day.
Exactly. And that's then becomes more of a lifestyle, more of a habit, and you get better at setting boundaries, and you get better at prioritizing that, and you start to have these non-negotiables with yourself, where you're like, yeah, no matter what, these are the things I'm going to do to take care of myself, because I feel so much better. If you ever feel like you are, not being selfish or whatever, or it's not worth it. When I was a young mom, when I was still young, Actually, the other day I was at the dog park and this man said to me, he's like, he thought I was 25. And I thought, he's like, there's no way you have a 12-year-old. And I'm like, yes, it's so awesome. But when my son was little, I would work and I would give my son to my mom to take care of while I was coaching fitness at the time. And sometimes after I finished my work, I would go to the gym for 20 minutes or 30 minutes. And then I had like the best workouts because I had so little time and I was just on it. And I often didn't tell her I was going to go do that because I wasn't sure if she would like be okay with the fact that she's babysitting while I'm doing something other than work or not. And I think she would have if I communicated it better. But I never actually felt guilty about it because I knew that if I didn't do this, I would not be a good parent. I would not be a good person. It's like no one would ever say, hey, Kelly, like you should feel guilty about taking your antidepressants because, that's like, because that's like, let's say that's self-care and your workouts, your self-care is like, it's for your mood, it's for your overall well-being, it's for your mental health, it's for
And that
everything
workout
else.
made you better for your mom and your child and your
Exactly.
home. So true.
Exactly. So it's really just, yeah, we've got to just change that conversation with ourselves and stop the whole, like, it's convenient. Like I said, it's convenient to just follow the same things you've always done, but not effective. Not effective if you want to feel good in your body and live a great life.
Exactly. That is so, so true. Well, this has been fantastic. Is there anything else you want to add? I think our listeners have a lot to chew on. Just
I know there's a lot there. I guess the last thing I just want to mention is because we talked about blood sugar regulation, but just tie back to what that actually looks like. And I know,
yes.
Kelly, you probably have lots of resources on this too, as do I, but blood sugar regulation is going to be different from person to person. And simply, if you focus your meals on having adequate protein and lots of fiber, you're going to do a great job there. Fat usually comes along for the ride. You can be intentional with your fat, but usually fat just sort of like shows up in the ferns because it's like you're frying in oil, or if you're having animal proteins, or I always put avocado and everything anyway. But so good. Protein and fiber is going to be huge for blood sugar regulation, and that's going to be massive. And then after your meals, you can kind of say, like, is my energy level, is it good? Am I dropping? Am I feeling tired after my meals? Am I feeling like re-energized? And that's a good idea to kind of figure out what sort of balance is going to be best for you.
Okay, that is fantastic. And yeah, that's what, just keep it simple. Protein, fiber, that healthy fiber, the veggies, the good things like the low glycemic. Yeah. And you're right. Yeah. Fat does typically factor in. It's not something you have to.
It comes along. Yeah. You can definitely, like, I sometimes think about where it's coming from a little bit, but usually it's just sort of,
and make sure
I don't have to be
fat, the healthy fat that's feeding your exactly.
Yes. I don't want to be that intentional. It's just, it shows up, especially when you eat avocados.
All righty. Okay. Now for our rapid fire session.
Awesome.
Are you a dog person or a cat person?
Oh my gosh. Well, if I could be both, I'll be both, because I have a cat and she's sitting right there on my office chair. Oh man, she is like the best cat ever. But I also love dogs, and I walk my neighbor's dog every single day because I love him and they work. And I walk my son to school, so we always take the dog. And he's lovely. His name's Hauser. He's like such a fluffy, floofy dog. I love him. So both. But if I had to choose one, it'd be cat.
Yeah. And are you a morning person or a night person?
Morning, 100%.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, not a big question. 9 o'clock at nighttime, anything beyond that, it's like, it's not good.
Checked out. That's good. And if you could leave listeners with one little nugget, like what was something that really moved the needle for you and has just become your non-negotiable? One thing that you just is my non-negotiable that really made such a difference in your health journey.
I think it's Stephen Covey's second habit or third habit, which is beginning with the end in mind. I think it's not really a habit or a thing, but it's just like, we often just get so caught up with our current problems, but we don't think about, like, at the end of my life, what do I want to look back at? And that is the thing that's that pivotal moment, that thing that I read that really resonated with me, that changed the entire trajectory of my health, my habits, my coaching, everything. is realizing like the cost of what I was doing, and that changed everything. So begin with the end in the mind. If you're looking at your funeral, or you're at your funeral and people are talking about you and talking about your legacy, like what are they saying about you? And start doing that now.
Oh, that's a good one.
It's deep, but it's good.
Yeah,
It's
it is very
powerful.
deep. Yeah. And what you want people to say and what you want to look back on. Like, are you going to look
Exactly.
back on what you're really going to be is going to be important at that point. That's such a good point. Well, thank you so much. And where can people find you?
Yeah, well, if you're a podcast listener, which you probably are, and the Fit and Vibrant You podcast is probably one of the best places. I drop a new podcast every Monday. And my blog, all that kind of good stuff, is at tanjashaw.com, which is TANJA dot. No, let me spell the name properly. TANJASHAW.com. And there I have a couple of freebies for you as well on the site. One right now is the 3 critical mistakes that most women over 50 make when trying to lose weight and what to do about it. And I have Facebook groups and all that kind of good stuff too. But the podcast and the website is a good place to start.
Sounds good. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. And you guys, the Health Summit coming up, definitely sign up for that. Lose 10 pounds by summer. But we are, all of the speakers are going to be bringing you practical tips and methods and strategies to do it naturally, and like what we've been talking about here, because there's no magic bullet. It is, and there's so many things that we're, especially women, our midlife women, are doing that are sabotaging our weight loss goals, and we don't even realize it. So definitely sign up for that summit if you would like to fit back into some of your favorite clothes. And if you haven't yet, leave a rating and review for Clean Beauty Scene. I would be most appreciative. Stay healthy, be well, and be present.